Chapter 4, A Place Called Safe. Whether it builds or blinds, trust offers no warning. The next day, Avum walked into her room carrying a tray loaded with Lena's first solid meal since she'd woken up, and her mouth watered at the enticing aroma. "It smells so good," Lena said, as she watched Avum punch a few buttons on the wall behind her bed, making a table form over Lena's lap from the bed's rails, then set the food down in front of her.
Charity's food supplies are fortified with solar vitamins and birth control. Your children's bones will stay healthy, even without sunlight, and after a few days you will be safe to have sex.
Good to know. Lena frowned. Wait, does that mean my girls are on birth control? They're 5.
The health and well-being of our bantlings is always a Ka'al's first priority. We would never put something in our foods that would harm them.
Lena scowled, getting a little tired of Avum's constant bitchy attitude. Geez, okay, I'm sorry. On Earth, we don't typically feed our kids contraceptives.
You are no longer on Earth, yet your progeny are safe. Our contraceptive care is completely natural and will not affect their reproductivity when they are of age.
Maybe her progeny were safe, but Lena wasn't. She was halfway through her meal when her throat started to itch and her skin flushed. A few moments later, Lena was in full anaphylaxis, and while Avum may be a bitch, she reacted quickly to Lena's medical emergency, and when the danger passed, ordered Lena food from the human habitat. It was a stark reminder just how different life now was. A few hours later, Lena slowly rose from her seat beside the bed and gingerly tested her steps. What if this was all some fantasy in her head? What if, despite everything she had seen and observed, these last 2 days were just a figment of her imagination? How could she be sure this wasn't some elaborate government conspiracy to test her hold on reality? Lena was beside herself, warring with what she witnessed to be true and what humans had taught her to believe. And Khamuel didn't help. Every so often, he would probe her mind until she had no choice but to accept defeat and reassure him she was doing well. She looked to the door of the ministry and headed towards it on shaky legs. Startled squeaks escaped Kiara and Avum when she limped by with no warning.
"Where are you going?"
Kiara called out to her.
"You're in your pajamas."
Lena ignored them and continued to walk. Where are you?
Do you need me? I will come to you, but...
Don't bother, I'm coming to you. He said something in his own language, his tone irritable.
Show me where you are.
Show him? Like a mental picture? She tried to focus on sending him the view before her.
Turn around.
He responded dryly.
You are going the wrong way. I'm in the control room. You are headed towards the menagerie.
Oh, she retorted. You mean there's a difference? She heard his snort of amusement as Kiara sidled up to her and gripped her arm firmly.
"You're pushing yourself too far. Lean on me."
Lena allowed Kiara to guide her as they made their way through the ship's epicenter. The walk was a long one, but Lena forced herself to put one foot in front of the other. She refused to look weak, even though she was now doubting her intelligence. Her legs trembled under her. Exertion made blood rush through her veins, causing her head to ache. God, what she wouldn't do to be back in her bed right now. What the hell was she thinking to hop out of bed, only half healed, and trekking through these? Lena looked around and her eyes widened. These beautiful hallways. The walls seemed alive. She reached out a hand to feel its texture. Warmth emanated from its pearlescent, rosy pink, skin-like structure. Pliant and as smooth as the skin of a baby, it was sturdy, not giving way to pressure and strong enough to bear thousands of pounds of its own weight. There were murals everywhere, beautiful renderings of landscapes and seasides, mountains and night skies. Some looked like Earth, but some had to be images from foreign worlds she might not live long enough to visit. A merchant began to set up shop, and Lena gasped as the walls curved and bowed until it became an alcove, allowing the merchant to lay out her wares. Lena wanted to stop and ask questions, but rarely allowed herself to be distracted from her purpose, so she kept moving, set on her course. She was a little disappointed that there were no droids she could marvel over. However, there were several robotic animals that roamed around, and they were just too damned cute for their own good. Kiara informed her the robotic animal, with its dog-like face and rabbit body, was called a filya. It was filled with calm-inducing oils and herbs that acted as therapeutic services for anyone who needed to decompress. The knee-high robot was a miniature version of the true animal, which was as tall as a cow, but as tame and mischievous as a puppy. Lena gasped as she came across a full-blooded reptilian who stared at her openly. He was dressed in that deep red and black uniform that Khamuel always wore, but the markings were different. What did the markings signify? Was he a captain like Khamuel? A soldier? A cop? Khal ambled around going about their business, and even though she was used to Avum's and Khamuel's pearlescent skin, she marveled that this race of people came in unique tones of pearl, from dull, almost tarnished-looking to shimmery pinks and cream as light played over their skin. Although they glowed under the light, none had the inner glow that Khamuel did, and Lena had to fight to keep her composure when she realized that most everyone walked around nearly naked. Women dressed in scarves, tied together artfully, showing off their curves and femininity, covering only their naughty bits, but allowing anything and everything else to be on display. The men were really no different, with only a simple sarong tied at the hips, and while the Khal males averaged at over 6.5 feet, at least half the men were thickly muscled and over 7 feet tall. Kiara informed Lena that those larger men had suffered something called anthy.
They're totally huge, aren't they?
Kiara sighed dreamily.
They will literally collapse as their body changes to become stronger. It only takes a few minutes, but it's crazy painful.
Why does it happen? Lena asked. Is it puberty? Kiara laughed so hard she let go of Lena and clutched her stomach.
Oh my God, I love you!
She cackled some more and wiped her eyes.
Woo! I mean, in a way, I guess it could be likened to a second puberty. Khal males go through a pubescent period very similar to a human male's.
She gestured to a group of average-sized Khal males who stood well over 6.5 feet tall.
They become sexually mature at the normal age, which is a good thing, because not every male experiences anthy.
Lena tilted her head. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna need you to break that down more for me.
Anthy is, well, basically it means they've met their mates. The theory is that since Khal are known warriors and are constantly being challenged by wannabe badasses, they've evolved this ability to grow rapidly the moment they meet their mates in order to protect them and their future children.
Oh, Lena chewed her inner cheek as the image of a particularly large Khal male appeared in her mind's eye. So, Khamuel? Kiara puffed out a forlorn breath as she stared straight ahead.
Yeah. He hasn't claimed her, though. Not sure what the deal is there. Anyway, from what I understand, meeting your mate doesn't necessarily mean meeting the love of your life. It just means that you've met the one person who is most compatible to give you healthy offspring. I guess it's possible he's not into her? I don't know. Can't imagine she wouldn't be into him. He's completely edible.
Lena hummed her agreement, but a shiver rocked her body, and Lena decided Khamuel's mating problems were none of her concern. She should have put a jacket on. Outside of the ministry, the ship was freezing in its temperature. It was so cold her breath misted when she spoke. Yet everyone walked around as if they were perfectly comfortable while Lena fought off the shivers. Finally, they made it to the control room where Khamuel met them at the door. Being so attuned to him, she noticed the way his eyes went directly to Kiara. His nostrils flared as he stiffened when he made eye contact with the Beta Dracona. Then his expression shuddered and he turned his attention to Lena, cocking a brow at her attire.
Not a word, she threatened, knowing she looked ridiculous in her fleece pajama bottoms and Cookie Monster t-shirt. He raised his hand in a supplicating gesture, then motioned for the two women to enter the large room. She barely took a full step inside when her mouth fell slack. Oh my God. The entire room was one large pane of glass.
The sight of the moon looked close enough to touch, and just beyond that lay Earth.
Henry, magnify optics.
Khamuel said,
Bring Earth into clear focus.
and there she was, big and deceptively beautiful, Earth. Lena's heart squeezed in her chest and her eyes stung. One of her small hands covered her mouth.
This is real. I'm really...
She met Khamuel's eyes helplessly, her voice a mix of accusation and wonder.
I'm really in space. You're taking me away from my home.
His cool expression didn't waver, and when he made no comforting response, Lena turned back to the sight before her.
Would you like to hear her?
He asked quietly. What? Lena asked, unable to turn from the sight in front of her.
Your home. Every astral body has its own frequency that it emits. Would you like to hear her? Would you like to hear Earth's song?
Yes, she whispered, and the room shuddered with Earth's melody, raw and mournful, unsettling her soul, as if the planet had always known she would go. Throbbing, high-pitched tones twined with deeper ones, weaving around her, a haunting hymn of lamentation, heavy with grief and mourning her loss. Transfixed, Lena approached the glass and pressed both hands to the cold, smooth surface, listening intently to Earth's voice.
The soft, vibrational farewell filled her ears and calmed her heart. Her entire being swelled with emotion as Earth called to her. From this distance, the beautiful blues, greens, and whites of her planet were an oasis in the void. She could almost forget how cruel life had been there. Almost. Her fingers traced over the scar on her neck, seeing the distance between herself and the harsh planet. Lena felt at peace. She was leaving Earth and everything she ever suffered there. Tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. In leaving Earth, maybe she could finally forget her vicious mother, her twisted father, her perverted brother, the abuse, the foster homes, the war. Life on Earth had rarely been kind to her, and Lena looked on in wonder, feeling that her heart could finally heal. The tips of her fingers gave her scar another quick brush, and then she placed her hand back on the view before her. Deep space travel was real. Aliens were real. She was to be part of their civilization now, whatever that meant. Although Lena knew life in Charity was no more guaranteed to be a safe haven, at least it was a fresh start. A way to disappear, a way to be free. She rested her forehead against the pane of cool glass and closed her eyes in farewell. After some time passed in silence, Lena wiped her cheeks and braved looking around the room. Except for a few, the flight crew were Khamuel, tall, athletically built, pearlescent skin with hair in shocking platinum or palest blonde and eyes in varying shades of blue never seen on an Earthling. Earthling? Had she just referred to her own people as Earthlings? Ha! Eat your heart out, Armstrong. Workstations littered the room and most everyone was intent on their tasks, except for the man in the pilot seat who eyed her with intense concentration. Rough-hewn features with a prominent brow and strong, ridged nose spoke of a man familiar with conflict. He clearly wasn't a Khamuel, but his glittering bronze skin, which shimmered with golden flecks at the slightest movement, emphasized his craggy features. Maybe his skin wasn't tactically sound for someone who was obviously a warrior, but she deduced his sheer mass and musculature made up for any stealth his appearance lacked. She cocked her head at the man as he rose and moved towards her.
I am Maud. I piloted the forager that collided with your ground transport vehicle. I place blame upon myself for your injuries.
He fell to one knee.
I beg forgiveness. 'Twas never my intent to inflict harm.
A brief flash of memory from the accident returned to her. Light washed over his stricken features as he looked down at her injured form.
I am at fault for this. Forgive me, small one. Forgive me.
As quickly as the memory came, it was gone. Lena looked to Khamuel for guidance on how to respond, but he was looking down at Kiara, who stood close by his side. Her smiling face was turned up to his, and Khamuel appeared enthralled, his glow burning with red tendrils around him. Swallowing, Lena looked away from them and back at the kneeling man with bowed head. I don't understand. The burly man's eyes gentled on her.
We are of a brand. I can smell the blood of our shared ancestors within you.
Ancestors? How?
Aliens, as you call us, have been traveling to and from this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Almost all of us aboard this ark have distant kin upon your planet.
Lena accepted his words easily. After everything she experienced to this point, accepting that humans were, in part, alien themselves seemed like a small thing.
She looked at Maud with a smile.
There's nothing to forgive. Accidents happen. My daughters are alive and well. That's all that matters. She shifted and grimaced. Please, stand up.
Maud rose and smiled warmly.
Lady, we are indeed family. Whatever your needs, I am at your behest. I will be as your father. I claim you as my daughter, my Banatu. In all things, I will guide you and protect your interests.
That sounded kind of creepy, but the big, ripple-faced man didn't give her time to think too much. He took one of her hands in his and placed it on his brawny chest, which was solid and pulsing with heat. He also placed a hand on her chest above her breast and said some words in a language she did not understand. When he was done, he placed a gallant kiss upon her hand and called out to his leader.
Khaven.
Khamuel tore his gaze away from Kiara, but his eyes cleared as he met Mord's suddenly hard ones. An unspoken conversation transpired between the two men, and after a moment, Mord looked satisfied, gave Lena a comforting pat on her shoulder, and went back to his work. Murmurs filled the room as everyone spoke at the same time, giving Lena the side eye. Lena turned back to Earth, giving it one final long look. She felt as if she were floating, and not just because she was in space. There was so much to take in all at once, and she didn't know how to process any of it. She turned to Khamuel, but he stared at Kiara. Expression intent, glow still flushed. Maybe she called out to him? Maybe he sensed her emotional upheaval, but he dragged his blank gaze away from Kiara and focused on Lena. He blinked once, twice, then gave his head the barest of shakes before he made his way over to her. To Lena's surprise, he didn't speak a word, only wrapped his arms around her and pulled her close. After having this man in her head for so long, it didn't occur to her to be uncomfortable with his show of affection, and she let herself melt into the embrace, needing the comfort he offered. Until the sound of rhythmic banging made her look up. The entire crew looked toward her and Khamuel, banging their hands against the flat surfaces closest to them. Lena didn't understand their sudden urge to break into music, but it was enough to shatter her moment of need. She straightened her back, trying to move away from him, but his arms tightened around her, making her think he wouldn't let her go. Then his arms fell away, and he took a measured step back. Khamuel held his hand up. The banging stopped, and the room was quiet once again. Lena peeked up at him. She wasn't sure, but she thought he looked flustered.
When you go back to Earth to collect the rest of your cargo, may I go?
Nay.
I don't want to stay there. Believe me. I haven't left anything behind that I can't live without. A bit of guilt aided her for that statement. She had a career. Knowing, by this point, they already viewed her as a deserter stung. There was also her cousin Lindsay. Would she even care that Lena had gone missing? Why would she? They'd only just found each other. I accept my place here. In fact, I want to stay. I just have some things I need to settle. I'm in the army, and I don't want my unit thinking that I went AWOL.
We defer this discussion for later.
Khamuel was obviously a man of power aboard the ship. Everyone took their cues from him, and Lena wasn't stupid enough to test her limits without knowing the potential consequences. It wasn't smart to challenge a leader without knowing what they were capable of, or without the backing of an army. She had to learn their ways first, so she could better judge her next steps. She let the subject drop and turned back to the large windscreen. Her eyes settled on the orb she had called home. She's so beautiful. You would never know how ugly and harsh she can really be. Why are we behind the moon? Is it for concealment?
Nay, the moon's concealment is unnecessary.
Being out here makes you feel pretty insignificant and omnipotent all at the same time, doesn't it? We have satellites, you know. The moon isn't so far away that my people can't detect your ship. He grunted, non-committal. It was feasible, Lena decided, that either alien spaceships in Earth's airspace were less of a secret than the governments would currently acknowledge, or the ship had its own means of concealment. There was so much she wanted to say, but Lena swayed as a wave of exhaustion weakened her knees.
Come, let us get you back to Ministry.
Khamuel took her arm and led her from the room.
You look faint.
Lena was more than just faint. She barely made it out of the control room before she stopped and leaned against a wall for support. She closed her eyes, not for the first time calling herself an idiot for leaving her bed. Kiara was right. She pushed herself too far. Kiara and Khamuel reached for her at the same time, but Khamuel gave Kiara a quelling look, and the woman backed away. Swooping Lena up into his arms, he carried her the rest of the way back to the Ministry. As Kiara tried making polite conversation during the rest of the walk, Khamuel ignored her, and Lena could feel his impatience with the other woman. Only an idiot would be blind enough not to pick up on the tension between Khamuel and Kiara. Kiara couldn't take her eyes off of Khamuel, and Khamuel seemed intent on avoiding the other woman's gaze. Idly, Lena wondered if there was something going on between the two of them.
Nay,
came the swift psychic response to her unasked question.
There is no thing with her.
A sleepy giggle escaped Lena.
One day, I won't forget that you can read my mind.
His grunt was vocal, but his words seeped into her consciousness.
You needn't concern yourself with Kiara. She is naught to me.
Lena didn't believe that. The way the two danced around each other's glances, there was obviously something going on between them, but she decided not to argue the point. It really wasn't any of her business. She barely knew these people. What happened between Khamuel and Kiara was, well, that was between the two of them.
You do not trust in my word.
You've been kind to me and my daughters. You don't even know what a gift you've given me by bringing me here and giving me the opportunity of a new life. So, of course, I trust you, but I think you're in denial.
I am not.
It's none of my business, Khamuel. His frustration washed through her, and for a moment she wanted to apologize for her abruptness, except she neither said nor did anything wrong. Unused to being silenced, Khamuel persisted.
Kiara is all.
Is someone you have unfinished business with? Lena couldn't help but needle him.
Sleep.
He commanded. Suddenly he was fully inside of her mind, exerting his will. The shock of him taking up residence inside of her was tempered as something warm fogged her mind, swirled through her middle, then spread into her limbs until her head fell heavily onto his shoulder. Silly rabbit. Tricks is for kids, were her last defiant words before she succumbed to what he was doing to her and closed her eyes.